Hello and welcome to Sestra-Tainment. I'm Lenora.
And I'm Dee.
And we're coming to you too. I can't even talk today. We're coming to you today with everything entertainment. So this week I'm actually going to go first. Okay. And I actually have something that came out on ABC called Superstar. And it's called Superstar Aaliyah. So the story of Aaliyah as a superstar. You can watch it on Hulu as the repeat. Since I guess ABC doesn't have their own app, they just try to do everything.
They don't have their own app?
I have not seen an ABC app that is functional. So therefore I think and even funny enough, I didn't get to watch all of it. So when I tried to go watch it today, I actually ended up looking up Superstar Aaliyah, because I couldn't remember the name of it. I was like, is it 2020? Is it what? Like, where do I find this on Hulu? And on the YouTube, actually, it said at the end of it, check this story out and more on Hulu. So, therefore, I was like, okay. Yeah. And even in the subject line, it went into the link to take you to the Hulu and where it was located. Because I was having a little trouble finding it on Hulu by just putting in Superstar. So there's that. All right. So this story is about Aaliyah. A lot of things I didn't know about Aaliyah were in this story. So number one, Aaliyah grew up in Detroit, and her uncle was actually married to Gladys Knight for a period of time. Oh, okay. And I think I might have heard that and maybe missed it. I didn't realize that her pastor of her church was Marvin Winans of the Winans family. And he knew her since she was very little growing up and said she always liked to sing in the church. Her parents were very musically inclined as well. She actually went to went to perform on Star Search, just like a lot of other entertainers did. So you had Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and a bunch of different people who.
For the people who don't know what Star Search is. It was a TV show. Was it Ed McMahon?
It was like American Idol before there was an American Idol.
Yeah, but it was like mainly, it was all kids. Like mainly kids. I remember it all. Every time I watched it, was mainly kids.
It was anybody. It could be anybody who wanted to be on the show. I think a lot of the repeats and things that people show is of the people who made it after that, because they did it when they were younger. It could be a little bit of anybody. But it was just searching for that star and whoever that could be, because there was somebody who was more of an adult. I don't know who that was. Maybe I'll look it up later. And they were on Star Search too. But anywho, so she sung My Funny Valentine, which was interesting because the person that she was competing up against in the kids section of the show was like, I just remembered her because she sung that song and it was like, why is somebody so young? Like, she's like 12. Why is she singing My Funny Valentine? And like with so much like smoothness, and the girl who was talking on the documentary, she actually did end up beating Aaliyah, but she was just like, but I never forgot that that's who I was up against, and just knowing how powerful she was. They also talked about how she was very confident on stage. She said, look, when I'm on stage, that's one thing. When I'm acting, I'm somebody else, so to speak. But they had all these video clips of her because as she did certain things in her life, either MTV or somebody was following her, BET was following her around. So they had a lot of
MTV was following her,
ways in which they could break to her and talk to her about certain things and get her perspective and her insights on how she was feeling about how her career was going. And so basically, she was somebody, for those people who don't know Aaliyah, she was somebody that girls really liked, wanted to be her friend. Girls were jealous or upset or feeling like she thought she was cute or anything like that. And I think part of it had to do with the fact that she was very tomboyish in a way in her appeal. And they said that she actually started a whole genre of a look. Like they said, it's the Aaliyah look, basically. So it's the baggy pants with the crop top shirt with your stomach hanging out, maybe a hoodie, maybe the sunglasses, maybe a leather jacket, the bandana, all of those things. So she was like how Escape started dressing a little bit with being more baggy clothes and
like
stuff.
702.
Yep, exactly. But she started a whole genre to the point that they were having Carl Kanai from back in the day. They were actually talking to him in this documentary and how she kind of went to him and said, look, I want you to make this type of jacket, leather jacket for me for a music video. And he worked on that. And he said the
crazy,
next thing he knew, just from her wearing that, he started a whole women's clothing line.
Yeah, just
because of the fact that Aaliyah asked him to do this thing, and then he was like, all of a sudden, I got other women who wanted me to do things for him. And then other people who were like, hey, we need the women's line in our stores, get the smaller sizes of these same things that you're making for men. And then it became, never mind, make them bigger because everybody wants them bigger because that's how Aaliyah's wearing it. So it was kind of interesting to hear that story. It talked about how she actually performed with Gladys Knight because Gladys Knight was kind of her aunt when you think about it. And so as her aunt and uncle divorced, she still was very close to Gladys. And Gladys was like, yeah, I knew she could sing. So I went ahead and invited her in Vegas, had her come up on the stage and perform. And she was like, yeah, I kind of went up on the stage and performed. Like, that was it. I stood still. I sung a song. I walked up the stage, and Gladys was like, nah, baby, you're going to have to do better than that. Oh. And Gladys isn't even like a Patti LaBelle performer.
Yeah, exactly.
But she, you have to at least move around the stage and engage
you have
with your
to,
audience.
you have to have people feel the music.
Yes, so she helped her to learn about the presence, the stage presence, and how you're supposed to be. They also talked about how her uncle was assigned to, he had his own record label, got her assigned to it, and then got R. Kelly assigned to it. And that's how her and R. Kelly connected. So then they went down that whole rabbit hole of her and R. Kelly and how he was influencing her style. So like all of a sudden all the looks were looking more like his looks, even though they were still the baggy and this and that, but it was like his influence. They actually said that the sunglasses part was his influence.
Okay,
that wasn't her natural influence.
Which is actually Aaron Hall's influence.
I know, tell me about it. Shout out, Guy. Yeah. So it's just, they even had one segment where the two of them showed up for a BET talk show special or something wearing the exact same outfit.
And they were like, that they were in the same outfit?
No, they knew they came out in the same outfit, but the people who were interviewing them were like, this is weird, because only couples and like, moms and kids wear the same outfits. Like, this doesn't seem normal. And so they were kind of, just asking them, how's the dynamic? How's it working with, R. Kelly? And she's like, well, Rob, blah, 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 and it's it doesn't even feel like we're working. It's just so fun. It's so easy and blah, blah, blah. Oh, so now at this time, of course, she's like 15. He's 27. And so then it becomes, hey, there are rumors that these two have gotten married.
Yep.
Did they really get married? And so they go down that storyline of how somebody just went and called the Cook County Courthouse, a journalist from BET.
And just found out.
And his boss was like, yeah, that's the rumor. Call him and see. And the person was like, oh, yeah, I'll fax it to you. He said, in 2 minutes, I had the marriage license. And she lied and said she was 18 on it.
Man.
So they were only married for, I think, like August till January or February, something like that. And then her parents, as soon as they found out, wanted to get it annulled. Like, it was a big to-do. So then once it's like she cut ties with him, everybody now knew that she was somebody who was young and impressionable, and that her career may not have been built on just her work alone. She had worked with R. Kelly. He came out with the album Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. So then it's like, oh, okay, so she is his puppet basically. So why would we want to work with her? Why would we want to help her? And she had to overcome some huge hurdles and obstacles in order for her to get her second sophomore album, as they call it, which she decided she wanted a whole different sound than R. Kelly. She didn't want anything to do with him. Like, she just wanted to be completely on her own, and got with Missy and Timbaland. Yes. And that's when all of the First You Don't Succeed.
I know, that's when her whole dynamic just changed.
Yeah, everything was a totally different sound, totally different flow. Even her style changed a little bit, and it was kind of a little more sexier, but still the baggy, but still sexy kind of scenario. And that's what somebody said. She created a sexy gangster.
It's like a tomboy. It's tomboy sexy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so they basically just talked about how that work dynamic was, and how Timberland, and being that kind of a genius that other people were talking about, because will.i.am was in this and a bunch of other people, and they were just like, you're thinking of her singing, her doing that one, dun, 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 dun,
I know, with
dun,
the
dun,
baby.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
They don't even talk about the baby part on the documentary.
What? They don't talk about it.
I know, right? I was like, no, because they were just like he had a flow. Yeah. And one guy was in the studio, and he was like, yeah, it sounded amazing to me. And he was like, nah, Timberland was like, it's missing something. So then he put something like something like that in there, and he was like, dude, what you doing? Like, what are you doing? And they were like, no, it worked. And then everybody's talking about the beat. Nobody talks about the baby sound.
Come on.
Because that was the part that threw me off so much when I first heard the song. I said, where's a baby around here? And I was like, oh, it's in the song.
Yeah, it's the song, yeah.
So, yeah, but
I can't believe they didn't talk about the baby.
They didn't talk about the baby. So, yeah, but I just thought it was a really good documentary about her life. And, I have to get into this. Her passing. So basically what they had said, because they had Damon Dash in there, everybody, like, you know, it was,
Damon Dash was supposed to have dated her too.
Yeah, they were in love. Like, they were together talking about marriage.
Who said they were in love?
Everybody in this documentary, everybody around was saying that's what it was.
Yeah, I don't really. Something about Dame Dash, I don't always believe everything that he says.
I don't know.
I mean, just like hearing him talk about.
Yeah. No, it sounded like everybody was like, she had made her choice that like this was the guy for her, and he was just head over heels in love with her. Yeah. Is basically how everybody was saying it. Like, even this guy, he was like. Even Dame said, you know, I was the kind of guy who used intimidation to make people feel like they needed to respect me. And she was like being nice to make people respect. So one of the guys who was in the studio with Aaliyah all the time said this guy, you know, Dame showed up, and he said Dame was that guy that if you saw him out somewhere, you'd be like, hey, Dame, what's up? He'd be like,
yeah. Why are you
not saying a word? Yeah. Like, what?
Ignoring you.
Exactly. Yeah. And he said all of a sudden he's doing this recording session with Aaliyah, and Dame shows up, and he's just like, oh, hey, Dame, what's up? And just expecting him not to speak. Yeah. And he was like, hey, man, how you doing? He was like, wait, who are you? Like, you're not Dame, because I've spoken to you like 15 times in the streets, and you ain't said a thing, acting like you don't know somebody. But now, you know. And he was like, yeah, that's kind of what my style was. He said, but she was different, and she created me to want to be different, you know, kind of scenario. So that's when the other guy in the studio was like, yeah, I knew he was in love with him, because he was like jovial and talking to people and all that kind of stuff. So he said that basically she was filming the Rock the Boat video out in the Bahamas, because they had started filming it in Miami, but they said that there were some kind of logistical issues and they couldn't finish filming it there, so they had to go to the Bahamas, and they said, well, it's more beautiful out there anyway. And so basically she hated planes, small planes especially. And so what happened is they got there, they do the video, and even some girls from the video are on the documentary and everything. They were like, it was a great day. They even had a BET crew following them the whole time, talking about her behind the scenes experience of filming it, everything. And then what ends up happening is that they get ready to leave, and they said that the plane was much smaller than the plane they came over with, but yet they still had all the same equipment and same people. So she was like, that doesn't feel good. So she had gotten out the cab. She's sitting there, you know, she's whatever. And then she got back in the cab, and she's texting Dame like, I don't feel comfortable. I don't think I'm going to get on this plane. And he was like, well, if you don't want to get on it, don't get on it, you know. And she was like, I think I have to, but I really don't feel comfortable getting on this small plane. And he was like, well, you don't feel like you are obligated to do that, is what he said. I don't know if it's what he said, but that's what he said. He said that was the last communication he had with her. He understands that she got on the plane, and the plane only made it 40 feet off the ground and crashed and killed everybody on the plane. So that's what the documentary said, which I thought was kind of interesting. And they showed a plane, and they didn't say it was her plane specifically, but they showed a plane like coming up and getting ready to go across a ridge, and then it just turned and like almost
landed on like a wing or something.
On a wing, and like it was getting ready to.
Like
it was
like a propeller and go around.
Yeah, because I had always heard that the plane was uneven, and that is why the plane crashed. And interestingly enough, I had been on a tiny plane before, like flying from one state to another, where they had to like go outside and flip the propellers, which scared the bejesus out of me. But they did say, sir, I'm going to need you to move to this other side of the plane because of the weight distribution with the luggage underneath, right? So when they said that the weight could make the plane, I said, okay, that makes sense. Well, come to find out, so many things went wrong. Number one, the pilot had all these hours that he supposedly hadn't flown that many hours. Wasn't even supposed to be the pilot of that plane that day. They overloaded the plane by 900 pounds.
Oh, God.
900 pounds over the limit was what the plane was. So, of course, it couldn't get but so far off the ground because it had way too much in there. The guy had cocaine and alcohol in his system. Like, it was just so many things going against
Yeah, going against him.
Yeah, the scenario and her being able to make it safely back. And I mean, Bahamas to Miami isn't even that far when you think about it.
Was it like 15, 20 minutes flight?
I don't know. It's not far. And so it was just really sad to hear the story. And then they go into even her family after she passed, how the community, of course, of Detroit was, and then also how her family kind of separated at that point because guess what? Her uncle owned the record label, which owned the music. Her parents wanted to be able to distribute the music, stream the music, whatever the case may be. The uncle wouldn't release it. Because it's like, I want the money. No, I want the money. And then it became this huge family battle that, I mean, up until recently. At one point,
you couldn't get her music anywhere.
You couldn't get her music streamed. And some people couldn't even play it on the radio because of the fact that it was like everybody wanted to hear her music after she passed away. And for a while, you couldn't because nobody had the rights to release to say it could be played. And so it was really a sad scenario, especially when she was just getting started in her acting career. I didn't realize that she was supposed to have been in The Matrix. She was supposed to be in, I think, maybe the second Matrix or third, maybe one of the Matrixes.
But she died when she was making Queen of the Damned, right?
Maybe
she didn't finish it. I thought they said something about like her brother.
Yeah, maybe they almost finished it, but yeah. So they showed that her making that, and then she had died while making The Matrix. They did specifically spell out because they said they had to redo all those scenes, and I wonder if that's when Jada Pinkett Smith went into that Matrix because that's the one it looked like, the one that was a little bit more Mad Max looking.
I don't really remember
because they showed a couple
Matrix.
of videos of her. Parts of when she was in it with the guy from Oz that was in the wheelchair, for those of you who know the guy in the wheelchair in Oz, scenes with her and him together. So anyway, but that is the story of Aaliyah. And I had told my sister before we even started that I was going to take a little while to talk about some things for this one. So I might only have 2 things because I'm already at like...
No, you have enough time.
Yeah, more time.
We're going back and forth. We're going back and forth.
I know. But I also started a rabbit hole because of the fact that after I saw that, I said, oh, they have some other superstars. They have an Elizabeth Taylor superstar. They have a Whitney Houston superstar. So the Whitney Houston one I watched, and that one, I felt like because I watched I Want to Dance with Somebody, I didn't get any aha revelations in that one.
Okay.
But it was good to watch, especially if you don't want to sit and watch a whole hour and a half long, 2-hour movie, then you can definitely watch that one and pick up on some things. The one that was so... I didn't know much about Elizabeth Taylor. Like, I knew she had white diamonds. You know,
these
perfume.
always brought me luck.
Yeah, I knew she played Cleopatra, which to me is mind-boggling because Cleopatra is the queen of the Nile in Egyptian. But
that's just what the entertainment industry back
That's
then.
what they did, exactly. And there was kind of a little bit, like they were talking to Melissa Rivers in regards to Elizabeth Taylor. And she was kind of like the ludicrousness of it all, really, when you think about it. It was grand and it was big and it was all not even appropriate because it wasn't even actual to who could be the queen of the Nile and who, all of those things. But they said it was during the time of like Ben-Hur and all that where everybody was doing these big grand productions.
And what was that what we watched?
The Ten Commandments and...
What was the one with the clock, with the owl?
I have no idea.
Titans, Clash of the Titans.
Oh, Clash of the Titans? Yeah, maybe. Maybe that was around the same time.
that was like Ben-Hur times.
Yeah, possibly.
I feel like it. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah, so what ended up happening is... So she was married. By the time I think she said she was 32, she had been married 5 times.
Oh, yeah.
I knew she was married a ton. Don't get me wrong. And twice to Richard Burton. So there was that. And she actually in the documentary said, well, it probably would have been 3 times if he hadn't passed away. So I was just like, oh my gosh, like so that was
her one true love.
It sounds like it, but also there sounds like there was another guy who potentially could have been as well. And so, so she got married really young to the first person was somebody who was a Hilton. From the Hilton family. Okay. So she married him. She said 2 weeks after she married him, she didn't realize he was a raging alcoholic. But like to the point that he was just like abusive when he would drink. Yeah. And so she was like, yeah, no. So that lasted, I think she said 9 months. Then she ended up marrying somebody else. Ooh, I forgot his name. That one is the one that some people I think said could have been the love of her life.
Rock Hudson.
No, it's not. It's not that one. It's a different guy. I didn't look up all the names and everything because I'm talking about this one more off the cuff because I just watch the documentary. But no, the other one that she married, she didn't marry Rock Hudson. He was like her BFF, though.
Yeah.
She said that.
But then was Rock Hudson supposed to have been like
he was gay,
flamboyant? Yes,
he was gay, and he was the first person who was famous with AIDS, and that's when everybody was like, oh my gosh, this is a real epidemic and a situation that we need to be mindful of, because it's, something out there. Because nobody knew he was gay until he was dying of AIDS, basically. Yeah. And then that's when she started all her foundations to raise money for AIDS, because it was like, my bestie, I got to do this and help to save all of mine. Because you have to think of how many gay friends she had at that point. She was probably an icon herself.
But I feel like that's probably what made her so fabulous.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I'm saying? They're probably like, oh, no, your earrings need to be bigger, sweetheart. No.
I don't know.
No.
Maybe. But she married a guy who was older than her, and then they had 2 children, and she was with him for a while, but she didn't really love him. I think it was more like, okay, father figure, whatever, that kind of thing. Then she married the one that some people feel like might have been the love of her life, but he died in a plane crash. So there's that scenario for him, and she was just saying that was just hard because he was a director, and he just drenched her in jewels. Like all the jewels that she's had, the rubies, the diamonds, the emeralds, the whatever, and it was like he loved being able to have the arm candy of her, and she loved being adored by him. So they loved each other so passionately and everything because of the fact that, oh my gosh, this is like the best.
Yeah,
like who else is going to spoil me like this?
I'm a princess.
Exactly. And he would just, it was funny, they showed a picture of her on a boat, and he was dripping her with diamonds on a yacht, like in the Mediterranean or something like that. Yeah. And so you had Eddie Fisher, and he was with Debbie Reynolds at the time. And so they had them on the boat, and Eddie Fisher was her husband's best friend.
Okay.
Well, when he dies, who does she marry? Eddie Fisher. And not only does she do that, it's like Debbie Reynolds said, hey, go and console her because,
Well, she took, I'll take your man.
Yep.
Okay.
So what happened is go and console her. I know y'all both, she's your best friend. It's her husband. Do that. See you back home. And I don't even know if he ever came back.
He probably never came back.
I don't know.
That's like death becomes her.
I don't know. But they basically said that she was villainized. Like, and everything, it's her. It was never the men. It was always she her? Is a manipulative woman who is just a sexual
old was she when she first
temptress who she was I forgot.
So you
19, 20, something like that.
Okay.
20.
I didn't know if it was like a lot younger or not, but okay.
Yeah, no. And so then she marries Eddie Fisher, and of course Debbie Reynolds back then, she's singing the song from Singing in the Rain, not the Singing in the Rain, but the Good Morning. Yeah. Good morning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So she's singing that, and she's American Sweetheart, and then here you go with this seductive woman who is just stealing men from everywhere and being lavished in jewels. So everybody thought Elizabeth Taylor was like this harlotry. So then she was with Eddie Fisher because he divorced his wife. She's with him. She's doing a movie where they now, because her husband's dead, she was supposed to be out the contract, but they're like, he dead, so what? Oh, wow. So then it became, all right, well, now you have to do this other movie. And she said, I won't do it unless Eddie's in it. Yeah. Because you're making me a prostitute in it. Imagine that, because everybody hates me. So now you're making me a prostitute. She said the script was horrible because they were interviewing her too. She was like, it was the worst script ever. I didn't want to do it. And guess what? I won an Academy Award for it.
Huh, yeah.
So she was just like, what in the world? Like, how does this even happen? So then she goes on to do Cleopatra, with who she's up against? Richard Burton. And what does she do? Her and Richard Burton both have affairs on their spouses, and then they end up together. And so she, at one point when her husband had died and she was with Eddie Fisher, and they were like, why are you like, how do you feel about this? Like, what is, and she said, he's dead, I'm alive. Like, she just got to that point where she was just like, look, because I'm sure some time had passed or whatever, but she was like,
sounds like Betty Davis.
I still have to live my life. He's passed on, whatever, so she's with Richard Burton now. He ends up leaving his wife and family. She ends up leaving Eddie Fisher. Now they're together, and they basically both said they were tumultuous. Like, they were we love hard, we fight hard. We love hard, we fight hard.
Okay, yeah.
And they just enjoyed the passion of
the
that.
Makeup.
Yeah, and the makeup of that. And she was just like, oh, it's nothing. Like, she was just so excited. They showed a clip of her when she was little, like younger. Yeah. She was like, it's nothing like the thrill of like that anger and, whatever. And just, and then like just getting toxic. It all out in this relationship kind of thing. And that's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah, it sounds toxic.
But they seem to really enjoy that kind of relationship. But it wasn't, I never got the sense that they made it sound like it was anything physical in regards to.
So just like arguments.
But it's like just loud, probably throwing things, arguments. And
throwing things sounds physical to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, not throwing it at each other. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Breaking things,
throwing it on the floor, something like that. I don't know, but yeah. So they ended up, funny enough, when I go to Puerto Vallarta, when you do the food tour there, they talk about the Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor house because before they actually came out as a couple, they had a house with a walkway in between the two. So that he had his side and she had her side, but nobody knew that they were, it might have been like the affair house or something. So that way they could walk through this walkway from one side to the other. So on the food tour in Puerto Vallarta, get somebody to show you, or any kind of tour, get them to show you the Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor house. But they got divorced, they got back married again, and then they realized, you know what, this just isn't working out. So they got divorced again, because the same thing's the reation when you get the divorce the first time is going to show up again.
The second time around is not a thing.
Never.
I don't know why they made that song.
Second time around.
Yeah, it's never better than the first time.
So tell Shalimar they don't know what they're talking about. And so then she ends up going into rehab later, and she gets married to the guy in rehab who was like a plumber or something.
Hey, that's true love though.
Yeah, but everybody's like, that wasn't really true love. It was almost like she was getting older. She didn't want to be alone. He was a nice guy. He was outside of the industry. Let's get married at Michael Jackson's house. So, anywho, it was a really interesting, like this whole superstar thing. So the only ones that I could find on Hulu were Whitney, Elizabeth Taylor, Aaliyah, and Reba McEntire, which is interesting because I thought they were only showing people who had passed. Yeah. But then they showed Reba McEntire.
They're just showing people who did
who've done different things. And cool. So I might end up watching that one.
I would definitely watch the Reba one. Yeah.
So anywho, but that's
I feel like she had a rough life, but I don't know.
She had a
rough life coming up or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe so. So I didn't get to watch that one, but I said I probably will. Just check it out since that's the other one there. But the whole series, it looked like at some point they did something on David Bowie, Michael Jackson.
I did see David Bowie.
Yeah, so they have different ones that they have done, and so that was pretty impactful too.
Yeah, I like that. That's kind of cool.
That's okay.
All right, well,
27 minutes later.
I mean, it was good though.
I tried to entertain the masses.
Well, shout out to Mikey P for the white diamonds and cigarettes because that's his favorite scent.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sure. That's what we're gonna say. Shout out to Mikey P.
All right. Well, what do you have, sis?
All right. So for what I have is a TV show that is on Apple TV called Platonic.
Oh, okay. I've heard of that. I haven't.
Okay. So just to go through the cast of Platonic, it's such a funny show. I like it, but then I like that whole crew anyway.
Okay.
So you do have, is it Rose Byrne?
Byrne.
It's Byrne?
I think it's called Byrne.
I
think she pronounced it Byrne.
Byrne. Okay. So you have Rose Byrne as Sylvia, and her best friend is Seth Rogen, who is Will.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
Yeah. So they're best friends. They've been best friends since college or whatever. Like, they know everything about each other. But then once they got older, like, Seth Rogen was getting married to a young lady who's an actress named Alicia Wainwright, but her character is Aubrey. So Sylvia's just like, I don't like her, so that's it. And then he was like, well, I couldn't hang out with you because you didn't like my wife. And then so now Sylvia is married with kids and everything. She was a lawyer, and she's a stay-at-home mom. So what ends up happening is that she ends up reconnecting with him after she finds out on social media that him and his wife are getting a divorce. But she's on, I don't think she wasn't on his page. She was on
the wife's page.
Yeah, the wife's page. Yes. So, so since you can see it all over social media, her husband was like, "Hey, you should reach out to him."
Yeah, because that was the reason why they weren't talking anymore.
And she was like, I don't know. Like, that would be weird. She was like, it's weird for me to only reach out to him because the woman that he should have never married is now leaving him. So, and from there, they do end up like reconnecting,
Okay.
but it was awkward. Mm-hmm. It's like, he's like, hey, so how's the family? You still doing that, huh? She's like, yeah, here are my kids. And he doesn't even grab the phone. He just looks up. He's like, yep, there they are. Your family. Cool.
Oh, wow.
You know, that's awesome. So, you know, they are living separate lives, so they don't really know what to talk about. But then, like, 20 minutes later, they're right back to their old shenanigans.
Oh, okay.
And I love it. I love it. Yeah, so Rose Byrne's character, Sylvia. So she, like I said, she's a stay-at-home mom. She used to be a lawyer. She used to be fun to be around. Mm-hmm. Now she's a different person because she's like a mom. And she's like, oh, I can't do that. I'm a mom. Like, I can't do this. I'm a mom. And stuff like that. And then she has a friend who's also a single mom. And it's so funny because they are the two outcasts of the moms.
Okay.
Like, you know, they're to the outcasts of the moms because, you know, they're like, yeah, hey, how you doing? All right, all right, yeah. I don't never want to talk to them ever again. Did you eat her muffins?
Oh,
you know, something like that. So, you know, it's funny. I like how they do that. So now that her husband ends up being a partner at a law firm that they had both worked at, right?
Okay.
So she's at like a work-related event with her husband, and she realized how much she wants to get back into law. Yeah. And like how she does it, like she's standing around talking to everybody, and they're talking about a case, and she's just like, oh my God, okay, wait, so what are you doing with this? And then they're talking back and forth, and then next thing you know, a guy who was her colleague just steps right in front of her, and they close in the circle of the actual lawyers, and she's standing behind them, and you can see her in the background, like trying to look over their shoulders, and then she has to go stand with the other wives and husbands.
Yeah,
she has to go stand with everybody else, and then she goes up and she's like, "Yeah, I'm such and such's wife," and they're just like, "Oh, okay." Silence. Like they're just standing there looking at each other, like we have nothing to talk about. We have nothing in common. Like we're just here because of our significant others. So, what happens is once she realizes that she wants to go back into being a lawyer, she does something that is so hilarious that's kind of warranted because the guy deserved it. But it was so funny. Also, I don't know. It's just hilarious how she does that.
Okay.
But I think that her character it's kind of like how her character was on Neighbors. If anybody remembers that.
I didn't watch
when
Neighbors.
they were supposed to be married. And
was that the two of them then too, right?
Yeah, they were married and were living beside the frat house.
Yes.
So
Zac Efron.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's like it's that same kind of character. So I guess she's just being herself, basically.
Maybe. Yeah.
Basically she's being herself. All right. So now Seth Rogen, his excuse me, his character Will. Now with Will is a part owner of a bar and restaurant, and he's also the brewmaster, right?
Okay.
So he's going through the divorce, and like he's trying his best to like hold on to the marriage, but unfortunately, his soon-to-be ex does not want to hold on to the marriage.
Okay.
She's like, stop leaving your socks and your comb here because you keep saying you have stuff here. You don't have things here.
Yeah.
Just don't come back. You know? So what ends up happening is some of his partners, like he's really close with like his friends and everything, like the guys that he works with, and they're trying to be there for him while he's going through his divorce. And actually the guy who owns the building that he's actually the brewmaster of is his soon-to-be ex-wife's brother.
Oh, okay.
But it's like they're like stepbrothers, and he keeps saying it's so weird how close y'all are. He's like y'all met when your parents, like y'all were adults.
Oh, okay.
But it's so weird how close y'all are, and you call each other brother and sister. He's like, that's too weird. I don't like it. It's too weird. But so, what ends up happening is that his partners are like, yo, we have this idea to make some money. Like, we can go ahead and like sell our beer in this spot, and blah 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 blah. And now, like Seth Rogen's character Will is just like, absolutely not. We are not selling to a chain. Like, how much beer do you think I'm going to end up making? And then it's the funniest fight scene I've ever seen in my life. They're not even fighting each other, but it's beer going everywhere.
Oh my gosh. You know that. Okay.
Yeah. So it's funny. So now I will let you know I'm only on the fourth episode. I'm only on the fourth episode, but it is super funny. Like, so I think that the whole season is going to be awesome.
Oh, Ah.
But I mean, like, I don't think anything's gonna mess it up unless like the ending is garbage. But it's 10 episodes total, and I believe that it comes out on Wednesday nights. So it's a new episode coming out on Wednesday the 21st, and like you can catch it on Apple TV.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I had.
Sounds good. Platonic. Apple TV.
Yeah. All right, what do you have next?
All right. So I have a show on my British box. The Brit box. The Brit box called Sherwood. Right?
Oh,
and so, yeah, no, that's our brother's middle name. Shut up. But I don't know how I even stumbled upon this show because it's not a show I feel like I would have watched because I'm into investigative shows. Don't get me wrong. But this one's an investigative show, but the storyline is such that it wasn't even of interest to me, but I really enjoyed the show. That's the only way I can describe it. So it's the story. The story is initially inspired by 2 killings in real life that took place in Nottinghamshire in a mining community.
Nottinghamshire?
Nottinghamshire.
This is one word.
Yeah, one word.
Okay.
It's in a Nottinghamshire mining community. And so basically, no real actors, I think, that most people will recognize. Maybe the main character people will recognize, but I mean, it's British people. So I never know who recognizes who from what shows because it's, I can't remember where I've seen them before. So I don't know if it was another British show or an American show. So you might not recognize them. But anyway, here's the story. So it is, they did say that some of it was fictionalized just for, entertainment purposes and things like that. Sherwood.
That's right.
And so basically what happens is that it starts off with these people just screaming and yelling outside, right? And there's police on one side and these people on the other side, and there's all this commotion and stuff. And so you're like, what's going on? And then you quickly realize that it's a strike, right? So you have these miners who are on strike because they don't want to go back into the mines. I guess they wanted more pay and different things like that. And then you have this bus bringing in people who are willing to work and cross the line, which is a huge deal for the union. And they call people who do that scabs. So therefore, you're a scab. So they're yelling, scab, scab, and all this stuff. So it's all people from the same community, which sucks because it's like, well, I might be striking, but my cousin is going across the line to go get paid while I'm sitting out here and I can't afford to feed my family kind of scenario. Like they should be out here with me and not going across the line kind of scenario. But then you have the other person's side, which is like, look, I just want to get paid. And if you're not going to do the work, I'm going to do the work.
Let me pay my bills if you don't want to pay.
Call me a scab if you want to. So anyway, so you can understand kind of both sides of it in this big scenario. And this is all taking place in the past, first of all, probably like 20, 30 years ago. And so it starts off there with this going on. So the crowds are gathered, the cops are there, they're trying to intimidate the scabs, the cops are trying to protect the scabs. So there's a main character and he was a police officer that held the ground, to protect the people who were going into work. And even though his father was actually a striker for the coal mine, so his father was like one of the organizers, like he was a big organizer of the strike, but yet his son is trying to stop.
So he's like the union rep.
Exactly, pretty much something like that. And so what ends up happening is that this one scenario, and particularly one day, impacts this community for the next 30 years. So then you jump to modern times and you realize that if people are in a bar and they see somebody who was a scab 30 years ago, guess what? They're still calling them a scab. Like they never got rid of them. They're just like, get that scab as beer. It's just not as fueled in anger, but people still, can get to that point. If you push them enough, they will be ready to fight, kind of scenario. And so there's still a lot of tension in the community. And then one of the days, a striker is killed. So this is a guy who ended up being on the strike side, and he was killed by a bow and arrow, like right near his house. And everybody's like, a bow and arrow? This is really weird. Well, there is a family who has a bow and arrow shop that you can go and practice shooting your bow and arrow. And guess what? you and them may not necessarily always have gotten along. So, that's the way that the cops are kind of going with their story is like, okay, where were you at this time? Who would have done this? What kind of not anxiety, what kind of tensions have y'all had with each other? Things like that. And so anyway, all of a sudden, multiple people are getting shot with bow and arrows, and not necessarily people who were involved that you can tell from the strike. Like one is just this like Indian guy. An arrow literally goes by a window right beside him while he's standing outside his house. And then another one is another guy who is driving a train and the arrow hits the train. Like it seems random, right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, everybody's trying to figure out what's going on. They're trying to put together these clues, and it's like a real threat to the community because everybody is like, who is going around shooting with bow and arrows? So some clues start to unfold, and the former police officer, there's another one. So you had the one whose main character and his father is actually the union person. Then you have another guy who comes into town. He has to come to help investigate. And he used to be in that town 30 years ago. And when he shows up, everything kind of falls apart a little bit because so many people in the town blame him for an incident that happened on the night of the strike. The incident is that some people chose to do something that created a fire.
Okay.
And created a death. So therefore, everybody is like, if this guy had done what he was supposed to do as an officer, then none of this stuff would have happened. So you go down that rabbit hole, and now he's coming to try to investigate the murder of somebody, and everybody doesn't really want to respect him. They're starting to fight with him in the bar, like all this kind of stuff because of the fact that they're like, dude, you are the whole reason 30 years later, so many of us are still so upset and frustrated and angry. And he was like, look, I didn't want to come back here. And then he also had a little love connection the first time he was there back 30 years ago. And so he happens to bump into the love connection. And does that continue to, pick up where it left off or what goes on there? It's a rabbit. And I keep saying rabbit hole. That's my thing today. All of mine are topics of rabbit holes. So, but yeah, it's a crazy scenario because different things are falling into place. And you're just like, all right, I got this storyline with the guy and his old girlfriend, and there's this storyline, right? Then you got a storyline of the guy whose father was a striker and his whole storyline because there's something going on with him and his wife that nobody can kind of really figure out. So you're like, what's going on there? Then you have this whole other storyline of this guy and his son. So he actually he's not comfortable around his son's wife. Okay. And the most awkward things happen with him and his son's wife. Like, really awkward. Like, hard to watch awkward things. Like, and you're just like, what the heck is going on here? And why is this so... Why is his relationship with her so challenging, you know? And then the son's oblivious. He's like, hey, Dad, da-da-da-da-da. Hey, honey, da-da. And then the wife is just like, I don't really, like, your father makes me uncomfortable. And then the father is like, I'm uncomfortable around her. So it's like, it's a weird thing. Well, he doesn't say that out loud. The father is just an awkward guy anyway. But then he just, it's weird. So anyway, so then you have that scenario. And it happens to be that father is the one who was driving the train that got hit with a bow and arrow. So was somebody targeting him for some reason? It's like all these intricate storylines that are kind of hitting into each other. And then, of course, you have the murder from 30 years ago from the fire. You have, or not murder per se, but the person who died in the fire, but also the person who died right here. And then another person dies. And then you just have all these things that are happening. And you're still trying to track down who's shooting people with a bow and arrow.
Who got the bow and arrow?
So they did figure out who it was, but he is slippery. He's a sneaky little one. So yeah.
Did you just give it away and said he...
No, but I don't think anybody would think a she is going around killing people with a bow and arrow.
I don't know, Katniss Everdeen, Katniss Everdeen was good with her bow and arrow.
No, but okay, that person is a slippery one. Now, okay, I'll take it out in the edit. I won't, but yeah. So anyway, but yeah, so it's a lot of different storylines, a lot going on. So like I said, the father and son. Oh, then you have a two sisters storyline too that's going on in there, and that's really challenging. And they live right next door and don't even talk to each other. Because of something that happened.
Of course.
So, it's all these little pieces to it, but it was good. And I like the fact that by the end, because I didn't know how they were going to do it, but by the end they do wrap everything up with a bow.
Okay.
They leave room that it could be another season or whatever, but
yeah, it's a lot of episodes. I didn't think BritBox did a lot of episodes.
I know that
it's
one
12.
was
like
yeah, it was a lot. It was more than normal. I can't remember if it was 12. Okay.
It's 12. I looked it up and I was like, hold on, wait, it's supposed to only be 4
4
episodes, right?
6. Yeah, every now and then you might get an 8, but no, this is like a full-fledged series, and so so that is it. It's called Sherwood, and it's on BritBox.
All right,
and what you got?
Okay, so this one I'm going to talk about. I'm not really a big fan of it, but I mean, it's all right. I mean, it was good. The action and everything was good in it. All right, and people are probably going to be mad at me because I said I'm not really into it. But we're talking about Avitar, The Way of Water.
Oh, I haven't seen that. It's so long. That's the only reason I haven't even gotten my life together to go see it.
I kind of dozed off and then woke back up and was
like I probably didn't miss much.
Yeah. I mean, it was like a fight scene or whatever, you know.
Yeah,
so, you know, you fall asleep when like people are like, you know, like talking really quiet, and then next thing you know, it's a fight scene, and all you hear is things that sound like dinosaurs. You know? Yeah. So yeah, just went to that. Okay. But yeah, so Avitar: The Way of Water. Mm-hmm. It does have some kind of cool stuff in it. I think I actually like this one better than I like the first one.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Because like the first one was okay, but I feel like this one is better.
Okay,
I feel like this
and I like the first one, so that's interesting.
Well, this one goes more into what's happening, like in the land, opposed to the people coming to the land. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, gotcha.
So, we can go ahead and I'll go ahead into the cast. So it's a lot of the same cast from last time. So you have Sam Worthington, who is Jake Sully. That's his name. They call him Jake Sully.
All together.
Yeah, all together one. You have Zoe Saldana, who is Neytiri. Sigourney Weaver, she actually plays a couple of roles. I'm not going to get into those roles, but she does play a couple of roles. So you have Stephen Lang as Quaritch. I don't know how to pronounce it. Mm-hmm. But you got Kate Winslet as Ronald, I guess it is.
Okay.
You have Cliff Curtis as Tonawari, who is like he's like the king of the water people. He's a leader, and then his wife is Ronala.
Okay.
I mean, Ronald. Good Lord, I couldn't get it out.
Got it. Okay.
So Edie Falco is in here as a general. Which is kind of cool. Didn't know that Edie Falco was going to be in it, so that's kind of cool. You
can tell her voice anywhere.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You do have Jermaine Clement. He's actually from, what was the name of that show that HBO had with the 2 guys playing guitars and they would like sing comedy?
Never watched
Flight of the Phoenix, I think that's what it is. Yeah, so he plays Dr. Garvin, but he does really good at acting. I like it a lot.
Oh, okay.
So, just to go ahead and get into this. So, like I said, it's a great movie. It starts off by giving you a recap, and then it also gives you an update of what everything that's been going on with everyone.
Okay.
So that's a plus because I don't know, what has it been, like 15 years? 15 years, like, whatever? Yeah. So, and then like right after they explain everything, they get right into the nitty gritty. So that's good. So it's still the Sky People, what they call them, quote unquote, are still trying to get Jake Sully and Neytiri. Okay. And, but now Jake and Neytiri have a family. Oh. They have 4 kids.
Wow, okay.
4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. And it's actually a lot of kids in this movie. Like, this movie is mainly about the kids.
Oh,
like, you don't really see the adults much, but the story is really about the kids.
Okay.
And there are some avatars, and then there are some, like, regular humans that are in this. So I think that's kind of cool how they did that. You know, they still have to have their mask on so, like, they can breathe out,
gotcha.
know, because, you know, you can't breathe you know, where they are. Like, with the children, it's a lot of kids being kids, and it's just like, see, if y'all wasn't doing this, then this would have never happened. Like, they get captured, they get rescued, they get captured, they get rescued. Something happens.
Like,
something
stop
happens.
Being
yeah, but I mean,
busybodies.
but what they are doing is, so Jake Sully is I guess he's like the leader of the community. So he is like the general. So he's trying to get his sons to like really be into it and like be like militant towards them. So that's why the kids are getting into so much, because it's like, yo, like, I'm trying to be like my dad, so I want to go and do this. And then it's like, but you can't do that. And now you have all these other kids, like your brothers and sisters that are following you. And now this other little kid, Spider's following you too. So, it's a lot into that. So I will let you know that Sigourney Weaver's character is interesting, but you know what? I did figure out what was going to happen before the end of the movie, like exactly what exactly was going on with that. But that was just like something in my head. That was just my own thing anyway. Okay. But it's a bunch of times where there are a lot of fights. You see how they learn to like breathe underwater. Well, not really breathe underwater, but they learn how to slow down their heart rate so they can stay underwater longer because they don't have to worry about as much oxygen or whatever they're breathing. I don't know what they're breathing. So, and the funny thing is like the kids that are hanging out, they're also hanging out with this one kid, Spider, who's a human, and the kids that are Jake Sully's and Neytiri's, they are literally like coming into like the little area where they're doing like the labs and stuff like that, and they're like looking at stuff and everything. So it gives you a story about Sigourney Weaver's character actually ends up having a baby that is half and half.
Oh.
Yeah, a 5-fingered avatar. Oh. And like
wait,
that,
how many
that was
fingers
the thing.
do most avatars
4.
have? Oh, okay.
They're 4. So that was a big thing. That was a big thing. Yeah, that was a big thing when they did go to where the water and everything was. It was like the big thing was, look at them, like they're half breeds. They got 5 fingers. 5 fingers. Like nobody wants you around here, stuff like that. But that whole thing was like that was too much with Sigourney Weaver's whole thing. But in the end, I do think that it was a really good movie. Like I said, I did like it better than the first one. And, I mean, I just don't think that anybody could say that it was bad. But, I mean, it was long, yes.
I didn't really hear much about it. I feel like it came out, but I don't know if I've heard anybody say anything one way or the other.
I feel like when it came out, everybody was like, oh, man, that was really good. And then that was it. Nobody really elaborated like what exactly the movie was about.
Because I feel like for a 3-hour movie, you only spent like 5 minutes on it.
Yeah,
so that may not necessarily be that good.
Yeah, the action in it is good. There, like I said, there's a lot of stupid things. There are.
Is there a villain? A protagonist?
The protagonists are the sky people.
Still the sky people?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. So, but I will tell you that you do get to learn.
Yeah,
I know I do the same thing.
Yeah.
But you do learn about the people that like the water avatars and like how they have spirit animals that are like their sister or their brother, and they can feel them, and the animals can feel them. They have conversations with them. They sign to them, and then then like the thing that looks like a whale will end up like making some noise, and then it's like so they understand each other.
Oh, okay.
Which is crazy, but it's like
it's almost like how they had to connect with their animal, right?
Like it's like that, but this is without having your tail connection or your head connection or whatever. Yeah. It was without that. This is actually just like
one with nature.
Yeah, exactly. And like it goes into some other stories about that, and like these things that are like whales, and like this destruction that ended up happening with them, and like I mean like the sky people are now using some of the things that look like whales as bait, and I can't remember what they're called. I can't remember what they're called. But like you using them as bait in order to lure Jake Sully and Neytiri to like the whole like little village, all to where that one like whale looking thing is, so they can go ahead and like try to attack. So I mean, it's like it is a war movie, it is a fighting movie, but I mean, I guess it's best of both worlds because you got the love thing, and then you got the fighting, and then you have like the motherly stuff and the fatherly stuff. So it's in a lot of things. It's in a lot of things. But yeah, if you want to check it out, Avitar: Way of the Water. It is on Disney Plus. I forgot.
Got it. Disney Plus. Great. Yeah. All right. And was it 3 hours? How long was it?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Like I told you, I dozed off and came back. But I did rewind to see what I missed, and it wasn't anything big.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right. Nope. Sounds good. So we have an option here, sis.
Okay, what are we going to do?
You can do your third, or I can do something really fast. Because you didn't have... I took up way too much time.
Well, I'll do my third then. Okay. I'll do my third then because I like this one.
Okay. Good. Let's do it.
All right. What I want to talk about is called Tex Mex Motors on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in the cars, so I gotta watch something like this.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is actually a group of people who have a shop in El Paso.
Okay.
And what they do is they rebuild older cars to sell them to get like a bunch of money. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll buy a car for $1,000 and sell it for $35,000.
Oh,
they might put like $10,000 into the car because the car is not that bad. But this is the thing: they are getting the cars from Mexico. So this is now them going to Mexico to search for the car. Mm-hmm. Once they find the car, then it's like, well, hey, do you have the title? No, my abuela does. No, his grandma has it. Okay.
Now you got to go get the title.
Yeah, so
then you can't bring it across.
Oh, yeah, you got. Yeah, so that's the thing. You have to think about like getting it across the border and everything, and then it's like, well, does it start? Okay, yeah, it does start. You know, because some of these cars that they're getting are like 59 cars. Like it's like a 59.
Like Cuba.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And that's what they were saying. There was like a lot of older cars that still run in Mexico because of the fact that if it's broken, they just keep fixing it until it's fixed. But I do like how they do the show. Now, I'll let you know the cast.
Okay.
With all the guys and the lady. So the shop boss and painter is Mike Coy.
Okay.
You have the master fabricator, who is Wesley Zachary. Mm-hmm. You have the engine specialist, Jaime Helm.
Okay.
You have the shop rookie, Jenico Adame. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. You have the car scout or Scooter. He's the car scout. His name is Scooter Carrera. Okay. Now he's pretty good. He's really good at this. And then you have the car scout and salesman, who is Rob Rabbit Pitts. Yeah. Okay. And then you have the shop dog, who is he's a mascot. His name's Nacho.
Oh, yeah. Shop dog. I was like, the shop dog. What's that? And I was an actual dog.
Yeah, it's an actual dog. Gotcha. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, you have animals at your job. It's so much friendlier. I mean, it makes it so much easier. Mm-hmm. You have a bad day, you go over and you pet the dog. You get a couple of licks, and then you're just like, you know what?
Mm-hmm. Like you got on my nerves, but now I'm feeling a little better.
Yeah. So that was the main thing when it came to that actually caught my attention, was that they are going into Mexico and getting these older cars and bringing them back.
Because that's half the challenge.
Yeah, exactly. Back. Exactly. That's the main.
Did they ever have to leave a car? Or do they figure it out?
So what they end up doing is like. So how it starts off is it's like, okay, like this is how we go about going to get these cars, and they show you, and then like while they're working on one car, they're just like, oh wait, we need another car just in case this doesn't work out.
Oh, okay.
So then they go and get another car, and then it's like they give the whole history of the car. Every time they buy the car, they give the history of the car. They give the history of like where it came from, like what the engine is, and like how many people were driving it back in the days and stuff like that. Oh, cool. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, they're getting the cost of like them trying to get it across the border. Can they drive it across? Is it like able to drive? Like anything like that. But I'm just I love restoration shows, like car restoration shows. I really do like those.
Yeah, sounds good. And so no drama between the cast of characters?
There's always going to be drama, but I mean, I haven't seen any yet, but I'm only a few episodes in. Okay. But I like it.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm here for it. Okay?
Wonderful.
I'm here for all the older cars. Especially they have a car, the Oldsmobile 442, which Roy Palmer has.
Oh, okay. Oldsmobile 442?
Yeah, 442.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't know, but
I have to Google it.
If you look at it, it's a nice car. It kind of looks like I would say it's in the line of like Mustang, Camaro, that kind of look is what it actually is.
Well, we'll just have to look that up, everybody. Google it. All right. Well, that is another edition of Sestra-Tainment. Thanks so much for joining us this week, everyone. And we hope that you have an amazing week coming up.
Yeah, boy.
All right. Take care. Bye.